These ballads were forged in the fire of truth. Listen, and you shall awaken.
Today, we're going to dive into a really powerful allegorical poem called The Ballad of the Lowlaw. Now, it uses this simple, almost nursery rhyme story about bulls and cows to ask some incredibly deep and frankly uncomfortable questions about justice, power, and inequality.
Right from the get-go, the poem's opening lines tell you something is off. We're in this allegorical land, sure, but the main figure of justice, the judge, is described with borrowed vows. That's a huge clue right away that his authority isn't real, it isn't earned.
So, let's meet the cast of characters in this land. The poem paints a super clear picture of a society that's totally divided. You've got a compromised judge and a system with two completely different sets of rules. At the very center of all this is the Lowlaw. The poem's pretty blunt about him. He didn't pass any exams, he has no real knowledge, but somehow he's sitting on the throne of justice. He's not there to be impartial. He's basically an employee of the powerful bulls who put him there.
And this land is split right down the middle. On one side, you have the bulls. They're powerful, they're famous, and they're tight with the judge. For them, the law is more of a suggestion. And on the other side, you've got the cows. They're just regular folks, totally powerless, and they have to live under the full weight of that very same law. It's a setup that pretty much guarantees what's coming next.
All right, so how does this actually work in practice? Let's look at the evidence. The poem lays out a bunch of case files for us, starting with the powerful bulls. And, a pattern starts to show itself almost immediately.
And check out the charges against these guys. We are not talking about small-time stuff here. This is grand corruption. Stealing tsunami aid, taking dozens of bribes, we're even talking about murder. The bulls are accused of this whole laundry list of huge, systemic crimes that hurt everybody.
And this is where it gets just wild. The severity of what the bulls are doing, off the charts high. The consequences they actually face, basically zero. There's this massive, gaping chasm between their actions and any sense of accountability.
So, how do they get away with it? Well, with the most flimsy excuses you can possibly imagine. When one bull gets caught with a hidden treasure, he just says, "Oh, an old ox gave it to me." And the Lowlaw, the judge, he just nods and says, "Okay, sounds good. No questions asked."
Oh, but it gets even more ridiculous. Another bull, accused of stealing tax and land, suddenly comes down with a severe heart condition right when he's supposed to face trial. So what does the Lowlaw do? He doesn't send him to prison, no. He sends him to a hospital where the bull is treated like a royal guest, enjoying wine and feasts. The system literally bends over backwards to protect him.
I mean, you see the pattern here, right? Another thief, when he gets caught, his big defense is just, "I forget," and the judge lets him walk. For the powerful bulls, the justice system is just a joke, a little inconvenience they can brush aside with the weakest excuse.
Okay, so that's how the system treats you if you're powerful. But what happens if you're not? Let's flip the script and look at the single contrasting case the poem gives us, the crime of a starving cow.
So what was her terrible, society-ending crime? She stole 3 mangoes. Not relief funds, not state land, 3 pieces of fruit. Why? Because she was starving. That is the entire offense.
And what did her journey through the justice system look like? Well, while the bulls walked free in a day, the cow's trial for stealing 3 little mangoes dragged on for 5 long years. The process itself was the punishment. And after those 5 years, the verdict finally comes down. For taking 3 mangoes because she was hungry, she gets sentenced to 3 years in prison. It's just brutally, absurdly disproportionate.
All right, let's pull back and just look at this whole thing from a distance. When you put these cases right next to each other, the poem's message becomes crystal clear. This isn't one broken system of law. It's 2 entirely different systems operating in the exact same place.
And this, right here, is the heart of the ballad. A powerful bull steals a fortune, gets treated like a king, and faces 0 consequences. A powerless cow steals a snack, gets put through a 5-year legal nightmare, and then gets thrown in prison for 3 years. The system delivers 2 totally different brands of justice based on one single thing: power.
But
You know, the poem doesn't just stop there. It doesn't just show us this injustice and walk away. It ends with this really powerful, kind of sad summary, and it leaves us all with this lingering question that goes way beyond this little land of bulls and cows. This is the final verdict of the ballad. It's describing a place where the whole idea of justice has just withered and died. It's a world where truth is for sale to the highest bidder and lies are protected by a wall of silence. It is a complete condemnation of the system that the Lowlaw is in charge of.
And that's the question the poem ultimately leaves hanging in the air. This isn't just a story about animals. It's a timeless allegory that forces us to look in the mirror and ask, in any society, anywhere, when the scales of justice are so clearly and deliberately tilted to favor the powerful, what's really left? Is it even justice anymore?
Each ballad holds a secret flame, art. Let it burn within your soul. Your friend has written one of the best novels in the world. Just wish him and congratulate him.